This is episode 86 of That Scale RC show with Jay, Adam, not Travis, and me, your intern. How's it going?
It's going good. You did a fine job just then.
God, because I was peer pressured into it.
It worked good.
All right.
I am pleased.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Your
So
approval means everything.
it does. I better turn my phone off here too. So yeah. So do we want to dig into the questions from last time, and then we can start with everything that's going on?
Send it.
Yeah, if you want.
I am looking for the questions right now.
Well, in the
'Cause-
meantime,
so
we
I'm
do
not
have
prepared.
one. We do have a question that was on that was in the messenger. So let me go. I'm opening up the inbox right now. If my computer would load faster. I don't know. It's because it's got to open up Facebook Business Suite. Okay, so we got a question from Troy Larson. It came. Actually, it was asked in Messenger, so it should have came through. Because I get all confused because we have everything combined now, so that's how they do the messaging now. The
weird.
Instagram and the Facebook Messenger all shows up in one. But anyways, it's from Troy Larson. He said, "What are your thoughts on the cheap Amazon RC stuff?" And then he put in parentheses, "Not sure if it's true knockoff or not," in parentheses. But he specifically, I guess, asking about the Endura products. Endura is actually like just I know it's a lower, I guess you could say, quality brand. They use cheaper materials, so they're able to keep the prices down. Yes, they do make some knockoff stuff because they're based out of China, and they do have a couple molds because if I'm not mistaken, they actually have the Voodoo KLR mold. So they actually make, I think Endura makes, and they flat out say like Voodoo KLR on the tire and
Yeah.
with the Endura logo. If I'm not mistaken.
Shooters.
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I probably have to go look at it.
They have some of their own stuff, and they rip some people off. They do
Exactly.
both. They do both.
So I mean, I guess take it for what it is. I'll be honest. I think the wheels that I got for the SCX 24, those black ones, I believe they are Endura because I bought those off eBay.
Oh, I bought Enduro 24 wheels because they look really good. Like there's nothing really out there right now that looks as good as they do.
And that's the other thing too. I mean, there's only so much that's out there, especially for the 24. That's why I went with it. But yeah, so that's about it. So that would be
They make
my
some
answer.
cool cages, like truggy half cages and stuff, which don't appear to be knockoffs. They also have some knockoff like hot racing 24 scale stuff. So I guess take that for what you want.
It's one of those things where we've just kind of always told people just, buy what you can afford, I mean,
For sure. I appreciate the option out there,
yeah, if you're trying to support local, cool. If it's not in your, budget to buy like Vanquish wheels or something like that, then, get what you can afford. It's all about having fun anyways, so there you go.
Word.
All right, so we got a question from Alex Sims. It says, "Just got my first 1/10 axial. It's a used SCX10. I'm assuming the first gen then. Red Jeep with the roll cage. Guy I got it from said he got it as an RTR and did no modifications. It has axial branded metal links and red chassis rails. Is that really how the SCX10 RTR came? Just seems odd. No, it didn't.
No.
Also,
Okay, so
oops, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I was going to say the whole thing about this description, the only thing really that sticks out to me is the fact that he said it was a red Jeep RTR with a roll cage, correct?
Yeah, it looks. He actually posted a picture here in the comments.
Okay, I'll have to go look. I'll have to go open that up because, to be honest, the only ready-to-run Jeep that Axial ever released was the 2017, and that was a full-body Jeep. You could not take the top off unless you cut it off, and then there would be no interior.
Yeah, this is a 2012 that he posted a picture of, and somebody's painted the frame rails red and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems odd. Also, having some trouble finding what SCX2 and 3 parts are backwards compatible. Is there some reference material you could point me to? Thanks. Gosh. I mean, things like sliders are gonna fit it. Bumpers, things like that. But I mean, really, that's. I mean, the trans is kind of the same depending on which one you've bought. Not the 3, obviously,
Yeah.
but the SCX10 too. So, I mean, like sliders and bumpers and stuff, that's really about it that I could think of that's going to be backwards compatible to the OG one.
So honestly, any of the stuff honestly will work because all the chassis are the same, except for the 10.3. 10.3 is different. Because realistically, if you had a 10.2 or you have the OG 10.1, we'll just call it to keep it simple. If you have it, if you take off, because I know in the 10.2 is the first time where they have those, I guess you call them boat sides or whatever you want to call them, where they kind of have the like floor plan looking thing, where you attach your you
Oh,
attach the
yeah.
sliders to. If you take that off, any of the first gen sliders will go directly to the chassis because the chassis holes are all the same.
Yeah, that same like 8 holes on each side or whatever.
Correct. Yeah. So actually, oh yeah, no, holy crap. Okay, so this is now that I just opened up the picture. So a this is definitely a Gen 1 because I could tell you right now, because that speed control box or the receiver box, that receiver box, they did not include in the 10.2. So that's a 10.1, and they have the battery in the back, which
Yeah, I
makes that
saw
thing
that.
fall horribly. So you can actually, there's a quick, easy way to move that battery tray configuration to the front. But honestly, what I would do is I would get something like, look at like BPC products. They make a battery tray with some like little drilling and stuff. You can attach it to the frame, or Jevon Racing. They also do that where they move the battery forward. And then you end up moving that receiver box just because it's kind of like in the vicinity of um, the battery, where the battery will go. That's where most of those parts go. The other thing you could do too, which maybe I'll go look before I open my big mouth. Maybe I should go look, but you know what? I might have a lot of the 10.2 parts to put the battery up front. Maybe I'll get a hold of you, send you some stuff.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of stuff. I mean, I even have the newer style sliders, the newer side. I mean, like there really isn't much difference. So like when you're saying backwards compatible, everything will work. There really isn't anything that won't work. All the bolt holes are the same. It's just somebody painted those frame rails red. That is the like the OG style, the 2012 version of the JK. That's the same body that I'm using on Fool's Gold, the black and gold one. That's the same exact body. Um, yeah, so everything's compatible really. So you can get anything SCX10, SCX10-2, it'll work. The only things in the 10.3 that you'd have to be careful about are going to be like any kind of a slider or something, because they have a different, since that chassis is adjustable and the center section is a little different, it's going to be a little different. But other than that, no, you should be cool. You should be good.
Yeah. Um
Brings back memories.
yeah, it does. I know I'm sitting here looking at mine on the shelf trying to think how I have the battery and stuff in it. It's been forever since I've even popped the body off of that thing. Next question from Nick LaRusso. Having a hard time finding time to get out and crawl lately. How do you guys handle not getting out often to crawl? It sucks.
Well, I start by crying. That usually makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, no kidding.
We move on from there.
No, we don't get to go nearly as much as we want. Like, we went this last weekend. That was pretty fun. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, really, lately, it's been like maybe 2 times a month, I think, that I've been able to get out. If
Better
that.
than me. I think the last time I went crawling was right after we got back from our trip. And then the next time I'll be going is next weekend at Axial Fest.
Nice.
So it'll be about, so if you go at that rate, that'd be once a month. if you're
Wow.
lucky.
And you host a scale podcast.
Yep.
We need Nick on here. I'm gonna replace you.
Oh wow.
I'm taking over, dude. You made a
Oh
mistake letting
wow.
me on. Making staff changes.
Staff changes.
Intern doesn't have that kind of power, so you
I
better
have the
watch it
power
before you go
of the
back.
people behind me.
Before
Hostile
you go back to
takeover
the
time.
basement.
Intern's gonna pull a hostile takeover.
Yes, sir. I will overthrow this establishment.
Eric Warren, how is Axial Fest Badlands 2021? Let me tell you, it was wet and muddy for 3 days, and it was amazing. Any of you heading to Donner? I was a little disappointed I didn't see a huge release from Axial.
So I've touched base on this a couple times. I don't think Axial made it a super big release on what was going on with the Donner Axial Fest, mainly because being that it's in California and we've had some of the strictest shutdowns and all that stuff. I think that's got a lot to do with why they didn't make a big ordeal about it. I do know that pre-registration is down from what it normally is, but I'm not complaining. I'm actually using that as like, this is going to be, to me, reminding me of how the early days were at Axial Fest. I mean, I wasn't there at the very beginning like some of my friends were, but my first year was 2014, and I think there was like 300 to 400 people max, and it just grew from there. So it'd be kind of cool to keep it like another to bring it back down to a smaller, more manageable number. I mean, of course, it's always awesome seeing a ton of enthusiasts out there, doing what we all love. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, I don't know, more laid back when it's, more manageable, 500 and less. So yeah. But yes, I will be at Donner. I did see a bunch of those posts from Badlands, and I can't believe that it rained for 3 days. I mean, that's like, I mean,
I saw
if you were
cars
somebody,
stuck in the parking lot and needing to be pushed and like just all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I do got to give it to you, to the diehards that went. The only thing that would like kind of like bum me out is like if you were somebody who traveled from like, let's say like the West Coast or even all the way at like the East Coast, and you traveled hours to get there and it rained the whole entire time, I might be a little disappointed. I mean, I'd still make the best of it, but I mean, it'd be kind of like, seriously. So
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I I probably could have figured out a way to still have fun with it
For
being
sure.
crappy and rainy and muddy, but I don't know. I mean, granted, that stuff is miserable. Like, you take a step and, like, your shoe is left behind in the mud and things like that. Like, that sucks, but I don't know. Rain isn't too bad sometimes, but that looked like a little much.
As soon as you accept the fact that it's wet and muddy, and you know that going into it is pretty fun.
Yeah,
But you're right. Showing up
and
and
it's
it's
gonna
starting to
suck
pour would suck.
for everybody too. It's like it's gonna be the same experience for everyone.
Right.
yeah, I mean, we did a whole Recon G6 up at Rollins Lake. It dumped on us like the entire time.
Sounds like fun.
I probably would have been okay with that. That would have been a good time, I bet. I've always wanted to do a Recon G6. I never have, and I've always wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if Parker kind of started doing those again. The problem is, like everything, stuff morphs and gets so crazy so quickly that, like, it loses what it used to be. Like the roots disappear, and then you're just
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, this, yeah, just gets a little annoying. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. We were there. We had rain gear on and did the entire event in the pouring rain. So
That's rad. I would have been cool with that. Let's see. Justin Gebhart says, besides the element-based builds, what is your second go-to brand of rig?
this question must be for you.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, really, like, all my personal stuff's element, then anything else is just work stuff, like a Rift and SMT10 and stuff like that. Like, we have some axial rigs, but Those are just kind of for work purposes. Adam's Axial Boy.
Of
Yep.
course.
Intern runs whatever he feels like.
I run whatever I can afford. With that being said, though, I've owned both Axial and Red Cat, and the aftermarket support on the Axial is just absurd. So I'd go with them after Element for sure.
Yeah. Jared Bluen says the guy that owns that Capra can suck at cool rap though. That's a picture of Jared Bluen's Capra, so that's why he said that. Nick LaRusso, did you guys record? Now we are.
Nope.
A week later.
Yeah, Justin Berger. The last RC I had was an X mod from Radio Shack. Looking to get back into the hobby. In your guys' opinion, what are the top 3 RTR crawlers for a newbie and favorite body style for each pick? Ooh. And also, how do different body styles, wheelbase affect the run, if at all? Very green to all of this.
That's actually a very, very, very good question.
That is a good question.
We haven't
With a
gotten
lot
one.
of answers.
Yeah, we haven't gotten one. We haven't gotten that kind of a thorough question in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, your top 3 are going to be, however you put it, whatever order you put it in, Axial, Element, Traxxas. Those are the top 3. Those have the
100%.
most. Those have the most aftermarket support. They're depending on, like I said, if you go with the original Axial / the 10.2, which you can still get your hands on, that and the Element have very similar transmissions. They're based off the same 3-gear design, so they're going to perform very similar. They also both share a very similar platform. The C-channel rail, axles, 3-gear transmission, everything's kind of distributed properly. So you got a nice, I'd call it a 60-40 weight ratio. You got a little more in the front than the rear. Traxxas is in a little different league of their own. They're going to be the most expensive. So if you're very green to this and you haven't gone out and looked at any RC cars, they're going to be the most expensive. And that's just the way Traxxas has been. Every vehicle they have is licensed. They have a lot of bells and whistles with most of their cars, unless you go with the Traxxas TRX4 Sport, which is a more primitive Pete, rig.
She's still kind of fancy. I feel like they overcomplicate a couple things for somebody who's super green.
And then also the other thing you got to look at is, are you going to enjoy the car, or are you more of a scale purist and you want to see non-portal axles? Because if you're going to go non-portal, then it's going to be Axial 10.2 / Element, because those both have straight axles. The Axial 10.3 has portals. Yes, they do make a kit to get rid of the portals, but then being that you're so green, that's a lot of work and a lot of knowledge to throw at you at once. So that's what I would do. As far as body style,
run what you like.
Yeah, I mean they all have their own stuff. I mean, like I said, Traxxas has a lot of licensing, so I think they have the Defender, the Bronco, and the Blazer. Those are the 3 big main ones. Elements vehicles are not licensed, but you have the one, and Jake can correct me if I'm wrong, the one that looks like a Power Wagon. That one is
the
ready to run.
Ecto.
Yeah, that one's ready to run.
Sendero HD, which is kind of a honcho looking truck.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be getting into
runner.
crawling and stuff. I don't know if I'd go with the trail runner. It's IFS. If he's looking to get right back into it, I'd probably get one of the solid axle rigs and then figure out what your jam's going to be. But I don't know I think if it was me, I'd suggest either if you're going to go axial, either the Deadbolt or the Honcho, the 10.2. Either of those are a good solid platform for a beginner.
Here's the other thing too with that too. If price is also in the mix, any of the licensed rigs, like Axial makes some licensed rigs, like the Jeep, the Blazer. Well, I think the Blazer's discontinued, but their Jeeps and stuff, those are obviously licensed. They're going to be a little more pricey. The Deadbolt's going to be cheaper because it's a non-licensed body.
Yeah.
Same with the Honcho. The Honcho's a non-licensed body, so those are going to be the ones that are going to be your cheaper rigs.
Yeah.
But realistically, don't let any of that stuff like deter you, because you're not really because you're not going to get anything different. Like, so if you're like, oh, I missed out and I didn't get a licensed rig, the only thing you're missing out on is the body. It's the same components, same everything.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that if you're willing to learn how to play with link lengths, you can run any body you want on any car. That's just something you gotta mess with, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I would say those two axials, TRX4 Sport, and if you're going to if you want to get Element, I would suggest doing, I don't know, I like the Ecto because I like that extra wheelbase. That 12.8 is good. I'd get an Ecto or like the Sendero HD, one of those two. Those are my picks for beginner rigs for somebody.
Legit.
I guess the other thing to add to that too is as far as wheelbase, shorter wheelbases are going to be harder to crawl with. Longer is better. Well, it's a little more stable. Like, you don't have as much, like, you know, when you're climbing up something, you're not going to have that initial roll backwards like over itself. But being that it's longer, you do have the possibility of high centering. So you got to like it's a
Give
it really
take.
It's like a personal preference. It's a give or take. You know, there's always a pros and cons to everything. And then like Elliot said, especially with most of these rigs all being about the same now, most of them run 4mm. I believe it's 4mm, right? Threaded rod ends, or is it 3mm?
Yeah. I think it's 4.
No. Okay, so being that it's all 4, you know, you can actually adjust, like, you know, you can get, for instance, like the Traxxas Revo rod ends. That's what I typically use. You can get the longer ones, and if you wanted to dial in your wheelbase any differently, you could say like, oh, I want to add like a 1/4 inch. You could actually cut down that Revo rod end, the longer one, cut it down, thread it, and put it right on the links, and you can readjust everything. Or if you don't, if you have enough thread in there, you can just turn the rod ends out equally. You'll see some thread, but that'll adjust your wheelbase also.
Yes. Yes, it will.
Exactly.
Let's see. Tony Charbonneau says, okay, here's one for all you guys. Girlfriend, wife, and kids are gone. You're all alone for a night of RC. What are you drinking, and what kit are you going to build?
That's a very unrealistic situation, though.
For you.
I can never escape myself.
That's true. I don't
Sucks
know.
to suck.
I don't have any. I don't know. Kit that you're
Don't
gonna
worry
build.
about Travis.
Like, he's on his own. He's a grown up now, so I don't got to worry about that, and I'm not married, so. And I don't drink either, so I'm absolutely no fun at all with this question.
What a loser.
All right. So, for me, it's always my go-to. It's going to be Coors Light, just because that's my beer of choice. You know, I don't know. That's just what I go to. And kit would I be building? Honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I was like, you know, there hasn't been a lot of kits out recently that I want, but I would build a Rift.
Yeah.
Good answer.
That's a really good segue into our weekend, too.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why.
We're good.
Seeing your guys' pictures and stuff, that's what got me, you know, I was like, man, you know, the Rift does look like a lot of fun. So.
It did not break. Like, so we had an MKS servo in it with no servo saver, and Travis and I destroyed the gears on that, being idiots. We haven't broken an axle housing. We haven't even broken a rod end. I've got it right here. Let me see how that rear diff is holding up, because I didn't lock the rear diff. Well, I guess it's self-locked now because I'm assuming it grenaded. So there's something going on with the rear diff in it still,
But
but
that's not a
it's
big deal because you'd want to lock it anyways.
yeah, like right now it definitely isn't spinning good. I will say this with the Rift, it didn't the the diffs didn't spin very freely to begin with from the factory. They're kind of rough and chunky. Um, but aside from that, no, I mean, dude, it worked good. I'm not a fan of the electronics at all. Um, the sensorless electronics for what we were doing over the weekend
It wasn't it.
was no, it wasn't the way to go. It was just so inconsistent with where the power would start since it was sensorless. Um, Made it kind of hard to drive accurately, I guess you could say. But no, it held up great, and honestly, dude, like it was a kick in the ass. Like I would absolutely recommend one of these to somebody. Just don't treat it like an X Max. Use it what it's designed for. But yeah, no, that's a good choice, dude. I think you'd have fun with one of those.
It hung in there with the full tube chassis bouncers too. Like it wasn't sleeping even with those electronics.
Yeah, no, it's what there was a three-way tie for fourth
Yeah.
that I was a part of, so it was definitely competitive. I mean, how many? Well, I guess we should start from the beginning. So,
Nah. They
so
can fill in the pieces.
yeah, no. So intern and I went down to Oakville, Washington, which is like kind of southwesternish Washington, sort of near like south of Olympia, and it's at private property. It's these people's house. It's a bow and arrow RC club, and we went down there, and they do. I guess the closest thing you could compare it to is like Southern style rock racing. There was some bouncer type stuff. There was some obstacle course type things. A lot of varying terrain. There was like dirt, sand, a little bit of clay, river rock, abrasive rock, concrete chunks. Like they had a little bit of everything, and it was like this big, huge, like this big area with like big piles of stuff and dirt and rocks they'd stacked and everything. And then they had like trenches too
Like
that you could,
pits.
yeah, like pits, these long pits dug all over the place. And then some of them were like big and bowled out, and you had like big climbs out of them and stuff. And we had done a live broadcast as much as we could because we were kind of fighting, keeping our phones charged because we had a lot we were trying to cover. But yeah, we showed up, I don't know, probably about 10, 15 or so. Things I think got rolling around 11, but I mean, how many one thing they did that was really cool was a trail class. So they had like
Yeah.
trail class for like 1.9 rigs that you could kind of, get your feet wet with that if you wanted to see if you wanted to, get into that type of racing. But yeah, it was like a Southern rock racing type format where they had 3 hills, and you get 2 tries at each hill, and then to take your fastest time for each hill, and then they had like a point system and stuff. So it was really cool. Like trail class was super fun. There was a ton of people, and like all the racing was really really close. Intern did really good. He almost podiumed, so that was super cool. Um,
Yeah, their 2 run system was really nice to have. You
you
get to
need
test
that
the course
practice run.
twice.
Like you
Yeah,
absolutely need that first practice run. Otherwise, it's tough.
for sure.
But no, it was good. I mean, they had like some loose dirt climbs. I mean, it was challenging enough to where there was some stuff you're like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like they call the bouncer class, the 2 rigs, the pro mod class, and there was a couple lines that were just gnarly. One of them was this like stepped 2 ledge line going uphill, and it was super dug out and like grass at the very top, and like it had like an inverted lip on it that was about 6 inches tall that you're trying to get up and over. And that was super challenging. That was a difficult one. So no, it was good. They ran a good program. There's a lot of people there, and we had a really nice time. It was super cool to show up somewhere and not have to have like a product booth or help run the event or anything like that.
Yeah,
Like for once I finally got to like go and just
enjoy
race
yourself.
and yeah, exactly. Just, race and have fun and enjoy the afternoon. It was a great time.
It's worth pointing out that it was a super cool community. Like I wouldn't try and compare them to like off-road like buggy racers, but they like also weren't part of the scale world that were like, tacking on 3D printed mirrors and brass portals. It was a super interesting community that was awesome to be a part of.
Yeah, it was definitely geared around rock, like rock bouncer type stuff. Like
Right.
there.
It was somewhere in between.
Yeah, yeah. There was some stuff that you would sort of crawl, but a lot of the stuff was just like pin it and hope for the best. Like, definitely you want, like in the trail class especially, you wanted tires that were pretty big and chunky that would dig in. And what, you had KLRMs on yours?
Yeah, I had Voodoo KLRMs that worked great.
Yeah, those worked really, really well. There was a bridge there that was these two wooden poles that were, no bark or anything on them, and they were wet, and that was super challenging. I was using the RC4 drive Mickey Thompson Baja Pro X's, which are like these crazy big chunky knobby tires, and
Gnarly.
yeah, they did really good everywhere except for on wood. For whatever reason, the compound was really weird. I mean, even though it's like a really soft compound, it was super slippery on all the wood stuff. So that was kind of like my nemesis all day, was any of the wooden obstacles I kind of struggled with. But they had like a teeter totter on a couple, one or two of the
It
trail class hills.
was just the second. No, it was the third one. No, it was both. Sorry.
Okay,
Second and
yeah.
the third hill.
Yeah, it was fun. No, it was
Lots of fun.
definitely a good time. I would for sure go down there again. Like, I think
For sure.
camping would be pretty fun there too. Beautiful setting. I mean, God, they had a gorgeous piece of property out there.
Definitely.
We passed some shady looking stuff
Oh my gosh.
on the way
Did I
there.
send you that picture yet? Or are you
No,
still waiting for me to send
all,
that to you?
all I was gonna post all that on the Patreon group. I had
Okay.
posted some of the videos there,
Some
but
shady business.
yeah, there was a couple houses there that were pretty rough and had lots of like spray painted "keep out, no trespassing" signs and "you're not welcome" and lots of F words and stuff spray painted all over things in their yard. And yeah, it was a little gnarly. We were kind of scared. It was something that you just kind of like drive by, and
It was such a weird area. Like, you'd have that house, and then next door you'd have this giant house with like 5-car garages and oval driveways. Because I would assume the property's cheap. It's a
Yeah.
funky area, dude.
I'm gonna save these and forward them to Adam really quick because
Do that.
it was it yeah,
Amazing.
not what I was expecting at all.
It was a
it
secretly film while you drive by type of place.
Yeah, if you look in the picture of the van, Adam, that says F off on the back windows, you can see that the majority of their roof is made up of tarps and cloth of their house. Like,
Yeah.
it was
The red writing, Adam, by the way, on the van says "You're not welcome."
Brutal.
I tried to get a good picture of it.
What kind of drug dealerness is that?
You know
I-
what?
if I had to guess, I would say they're cooking meth and they're not being super discreet about it with all the no trespassing signs. It's like, I get what you guys are trying to do here. You have, like possibly this like hillbilly drug enterprise that you're trying to get rolling, but
It's not the most.
you're
low-key
kind of
thing I've ever
drawing
seen.
some attention to yourself by not wanting attention.
Yeah. Or watch it
Did
be
the
like a
pictures
total-
come through yet?
Oh yeah.
So you see them now?
Oh yeah.
They did a nice job.
I was gonna say, or what if it's a 180 and they're actually like just like big time like video game nerds and like they just have no social skills, so they want no one to come around.
That's like me, though.
I don't know if they have any home electronics in there with that roof system they got going on.
Yeah, they've got a nice PC under there.
Yeah. I think there might be too much like rainwater coming through to be able to have electronics in there. It was sketch, dude. Like we're driving by and like we kind of felt a little bit uneasy. Like, huh, all right, like we
Where
better
are
not
we?
drive too slow, or there's gonna be some dude, in his undies screaming with a shotgun on his porch. It was kind of, it was different.
I'm glad to say James, fucking Jay's, sorry, F-150 is still bullet hole free.
It is, yeah,
Zero bullet holes. Kind of
yeah.
disappointing. We'd have a cooler story if there
If
were,
we got
but
shot
like
at.
maybe your patrons could repair it
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it was.
next
We
time.
had a good time. The drive down was sketch, but aside from that, we had a really good time. We have a lot of new um, catchphrases and things like that. So that
Yes,
was
sir.
kind of fun. Added to our vocabulary, and then we had a guy in a spray painted matte black spray painted Dodge Ram, which I forgot to tell you. So after I dropped you off,
Oh
going through
no.
Marysville, met him again on the freeway. Like, how does that happen, dude?
Jay was so intimidated by this rattle can paint job truck that was following us.
Dude, every time he would go by, it was just like stuffing his foot through the freaking
Mad
firewall,
dogging
just
you,
mashing on the accelerator, trying to make
letting you
noise
know
and
who owned
stuff. You're
that
just like,
freeway.
man, this dude he's the boss. He's an alpha for sure.
Jay's
So,
just trying to race toy cars, and this guy's letting him know who's boss.
God, it was funny. Yeah, that dude, he had an interesting program going. But yeah, we just couldn't get away from the dude. Like, he'd be going along, then he'd come back up, and every time it was just, vroom, vroom! Like, okay.
Well, that's because he's got the
He'd
sauce.
show back up.
Yep, this dude would just appear. So yeah, I saw him again, and I was just like, uh-oh.
Glad nothing went down.
Yeah, no, I didn't have you to back me up this time, so. So yeah, no, it was a good trip. I haven't gone on a RC crawling trip in a while, so it was a good time, and I'm
Yeah, last time I went
definitely
on a
gonna do
good
it
trip
again.
was with you.
Yeah, need to do that more. And then when Trav gets back, we're gonna. I think he and I actually are gonna go to Oregon and do some content creating or whatever they want to call it now. So
Isn't he in Oregon right now?
yeah, he'll be back tomorrow. He is in
Uh,
Redmond, Oregon.
Imagine celebrating your birthday and not recording a podcast.
Like a normal person would. That's a whole new level of nerd, making sure that you record a podcast on your birthday.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a whole new level of commitment.
Yeah. So yeah, nope. It was fun. We had a good time. It was good.
True that.
Yeah,
Looked like a good time.
it was. Yeah,
Like I said, that's why I'm like, the rock bounce would be cool. But like I said, to me, it's going to end up being like the drag stuff for me. It's going to be like there's nobody. I mean, there are people around here to do it, but it's like a mission to have to drive somewhere. So like, especially with the rock bouncer, there's probably really nowhere to do it. So I don't know.
I I mean, I'm kind of in the same situation. Like, there's a few spots where we go crawling that it's fun at, and like Travis and I busted it out at Mount Erie one day, and that was a good time. But I don't know. Like now, seeing that there's like a pretty deep rock bouncer scene here, I'm kind of excited to go do more stuff like that. So I mean, it's gonna be a good 3 hour drive to go down there and hang out with those guys and race again. But like if they were having another one this weekend, I would probably go because it was fun. But I mean, I want to say there was only two rifts there. There was mine, and then one of
Yours
the
and one other.
guys' wife or girlfriend had one, and
Yeah.
everything else was like straight up like legit metal caged rock bouncers, like like 13 or 14 of them. Like there was a lot. It was really surprising. I didn't. That wasn't really what I expected to see at all. Like I think
No.
There was two Yetis in that group, two rifts, and then the rest were metal cage bouncers.
I'm not
And
gonna lie. Afterwards, I went to A Main and looked at the price of the Rift kit.
pretty pretty fun, dude. Like, I
Pretty
mean,
sweet.
I don't know. I think definitely there's some setup changes I would do. You know, like next time around, I think definitely softer shocks, just so the thing doesn't like kick and deflect quite as bad. You know, like I need to go
Yeah.
softer springs. Like it was really stiff. The ride height was a little too much, I think, too. It was
She
kind of
needs to settle down.
yeah. I don't know if I want to just do like internal limiters in the shocks or what. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm gonna do just yet, but I definitely want to like slam the ride height down and soften it up some so that it handles some of that easier. That and it just absolutely needs a censored system, you know, because we have the
Right.
RTR version for work because the kit one hadn't come out yet, and the Spectrum electronics, like for what we were doing. If it was just like straight up hills and stuff you were climbing, I'm sure it'd be fine. But like this was like tight turns and a little bit of crawling, and like you definitely would want like that kind of precision control over your throttle and braking, which the Spectrum RTR electronics just don't have. They're not great. So
Yeah, I think for next time I'm gonna change up my body. I absolutely love my gatekeeper, but that plastic cage is just a little too top heavy for what we're doing.
yeah, I think in trail class, honestly, like the Ecto slash a gatekeeper was a pretty good setup because it has plenty of suspension travel, still articulates good, and they just that 12.8 wheelbase, dude. I really think that helps on some of that stuff. And with having overdrive and everything else, you don't really necessarily have to worry about the turning radius with having a 12.3 rig.
Oh, that's
So
right. I
or
gotta put
12.8,
overdrive
excuse
in
me,
mine
12.8.
still.
It makes a difference. I mean, you saw that one little corner that I had like
I did.
popped up on and like let the front end walk over and stuff. Like the overdrive definitely helps. So I mean,
You could definitely tell. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's something you should for sure put in yours. I mean, I think we've got it in all of them. I mean, I drove the Ecto twice, I think, with just the factory overdrive that it comes with, which isn't much.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
have.
yeah, so just whatever it is out of the box. But the 11.6% overdrive definitely is a big help on that. So yeah, no, I just need to get some Tekin electronics in the Rift, and I think it'll be a contender. The tires weren't bad. Honestly, like as much loose dirt, and there was a lot of really loose and kind of gravelly, rocky dirt there. I I think like USD stickies would have been the
Yeah.
tire to have there. Like they,
Those blocky open lugs that can
yeah,
just chuck the dirt out.
the stock axial tires, the boggers that are cut on them, aren't bad. Like I mean, that was probably one of the better things about the rig, driving it. But I think that a hot setup would definitely be having some USD stickies.
Yeah, I saw some of the guys were cutting down swampers or high racks to the point where they were like almost paddle tires. That
Yeah, which
loose
made me think
dirt's that
about
loose.
those because I have those RC four-wheel drive tractor tires, whatever they're called, the
Mm-hmm.
mudslingers or whatever. I forget now, but anyways,
Something like that.
yeah,
Sling
I
King? No, that's J-Con.
yeah, no, they I think they would have worked pretty good with like dual stage foams, like some Proline dual stage foams in them, but they would have ballooned up like pizza cuttered pretty easily. And with some of the faster corners, I think it would have been an issue with having them like the sidewall fold over because they're a
Yeah.
little soft. But I don't know. I mean, like they were saying, like, oh, you guys can come down, for like test and tune or whatever. Like, honestly, I would almost be down for that just to try and, spend some time getting
Yeah.
a rig dialed in to work a little better on it. But
It's quite the drive, but at some point we need to gather up a bunch of parts and go down there for the day and just mess around.
yeah, just get a setup dialed in. But trail class is pretty good though. Like, I'm not even. I mean, you could have a brushless system in trail class, but like even like, I mean, I ran like RTR brushed electronics in the Ecto, and it got along just fine. So
Yeah, I don't even think it's necessary. The trail class is so much about driving and picking lines.
yeah, it was pretty technical. Like, I mean, all of it was pretty technical driving. Like, honestly, I mean, none of it was easy. I wouldn't say any of it was easy.
But with the trail, you just don't have the power and the wheel speed to get you out of it. Those small
Yeah,
tires, you got to pick where you put them.
I think more than having, I think if somebody were to show up with a rig, I think more than worrying about like a brushless system or something, like I would just pick some big gnarly chunky tires like your KLRMs or those RC four-wheel drive tires, like something burly that can shovel some dirt, because that I don't think you could use like a crawling type trail tire, tread and do very well. I think I would have been stuck nonstop pretty much, like all the dirt hills and stuff. So, but
there pretty much pick a beefy tire and learn how to drive.
Yeah, dude, there was a guy there that he was running trail class with, I want to say it was an SCX 10.3, and he had 3.85s on it. And like, we're just cheering for him all day. Like he was doing really good with it too. Like it was kind of fun to watch. I was like, yeah, dude, tiny tire guy's crushing it. So that was fun to watch.
This is the same course that the 2.2s ran on. Like obviously not the same lines, but the same terrain. My man was out there slaying.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was neat to watch. That guy did really well with it. So
you jinxed him.
Did I jinx him?
Yeah, I got the live to prove it.
Oh man, that's no good.
This is what it is.
It's all your fault, Jay.
I know it.
We've established that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty much it. There was some good stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I have a story, but it's not that exciting.
Uh-oh.
I'll be the judge of that.
So, Jay, how we've been talking about ordering pre-runner bodies to make like a pre-runner, like street runner kind of like, build?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been looking at different ones, and like I keep feeling that the ones designed for the slash are a little too big for the crawler, realm, just because they're very wide. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with this one body. So I wrote down the part number. Nobody had it in stock. I punched it in on Amazon, and I wasn't paying attention. And the body, it's the same body. It's a Proline Chevy body, 4-door Silverado. And they have two part numbers. One is for, I think it's for like the Stampede, and the other one's for like, I want to say the X-Max or something like that. I could be wrong, but they're two different sizes. One's like an inch narrower than the other. Anyways, I wasn't paying attention, so I hit order. It gets here. I'm all excited. I open the box. I'm like, this thing is tiny. I was like,
was it a little Revo one or something?
Yep.
Oh, no.
So I got to send that one back.
Bummer.
I was all excited, but nobody has the one that I want, so I got to wait.
Have you looked at the Ranger body, Adam? They have some pre-runner fender flares you can bolt on.
Ranger?
Yeah, Proline.
Yeah, the Proline
made
Ranger.
A Ford Ranger with some pre-runner parts. Something to look at.
I'm not a big Ford fan. That might be for Jay.
That's that standard cab one that they just really kind of missed their mark with.
It looked good on the car they used.
Yeah, I don't know. They should have made it an extra cab, but whatever. Why they made it a long bed standard cab, I'm not sure.
Jay's not angry or anything.
I'm not. I don't know. It's okay looking, but I have the fenders. I'm gonna use them for something else, but we'll see. I don't know. Our Adam and I's pre-runner thing is not working quite the way we were hoping it would, so we're
interesting
reevaluating it.
Well, I have an idea. I just gotta wait for that body to show up. I mean, to be available. Proline's website says coming soon. Sorry, we got the train going by.
Okay.
Train.
Well, okay, so we're like not that far away from the train that goes by, and I think it's the freaking what is it? The one that actually has all, not like the passenger train. It's like the actual one with all the carts and stuff, because that one blows the horn like 20 times more. But did you know that the J Concepts has a body. This has to be their answer to the Proline cliffhanger, the tucked 1989 F250.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Dude, I didn't know about that.
It's, I don't know. It's not bad. It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen. It came out, I think, almost exactly the same time that the cliffhanger did, if I remember right.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah,
Cuz I'm still looking for that.
it looks pretty cool.
I just looked up the cliffhanger. How had I not seen this before? It's like a pre-pinched comp body.
Yep.
I guess that's cool if that's what you want to do.
There was one in the truck the entire day on Sunday.
Wait, was that really?
Yeah.
I'm not very observant, dude. I'm really oblivious. You should know that by now.
Yeah, no, that was the my comp truck that was in there that we took for parts just in case. Always have to take a just in case truck.
For sure.
That's probably the smallest number of vehicles I think I've ever gone somewhere with, though, because like that's part of the problem is like with all the stuff that we've accumulated for work and everything. Like when I go crawling, it's like, what do I want to drive? You know, and like lately it's been almost the Ecto exclusively. Like I've spent a lot of time with that thing. But I also want to try and find like a really good setup for it too, though. So that's why I've been messing with like springs and shock oil.
Sounds like a lot of work. I'm so lazy. I feel bad that I neglect my crawler.
You know, sometimes it's nice to just have a rig that you don't care about necessarily. Like that. I mean, I care about the Ecto obviously, but like I just hosed it off and blew it off with air after we got back. I mean,
That's why I got into crawling in the first place. Something I can just not care about when I'm not racing.
Yeah, it's like if I have to replace some bearings and spend $11 or something, I'm really not super upset about it. Like I would rather, I don't know. It's just nice to have something you don't really care about.
God, my gatekeeper eats bearings. I'm not very smart when I drive it.
I don't. Yeah, that's you must drive in a lot of water because I have
I
yet to lose a bearing on any of these rigs. And I mean,
driving
like
in a lot of water is an understatement, dude.
we've got element rigs that have been around since they very first came out, and they're still going strong.
Since the dawn of time.
Yes. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah, that just reminded me. I got to order a bearing.
Had a rift, and then put together something for 19 Trail and come up here and do one of those races because that was a good time. I think Travis would do really well at it.
I agree.
Probably.
But that's because he's fast with everything.
That's true. I think he enjoys the more methodical racing of scale, like not just standing around counting 3D printed scale accessories, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be into scale comps, but what we did this last weekend, I think he would probably really enjoy.
For sure.
Because it was good. So yeah, there you have it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We're not ending it like that. It's only been like
Yeah, that's boring.
Fine, God.
It's hard to kind of read you over
Me?
audio. I'm like, is he kidding or are we really dipping?
I'm hard to read anyways.
That's true.
Oh, if Jay had his way, he'd end the show after the questions.
Hey, welcome to episode 86. You guys have a
We'll see
great
you next
weekend.
week.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You just reminded me. I do got to order a bearing. So I did not really. I guess you can say it's a noob mistake, kind of.
Oh, okay.
So when I was doing when I was putting the brass knuckles on my SCX 24, I did the same method like I do when I'm setting them in my, normal knuckles on like the 1/10 scale. And basically what I use is like a small socket that's like the same diameter as the bearing, because sometimes, like, especially when you do what I do and I paint the knuckles so that you don't have to stare at the brass, it makes the tolerances tighter than they were before you painted them. So the bearing doesn't really want to go in there. So I scrape a lot of the paint off, but it's still kind of hard. So I always just tap it in lightly with a socket. Dude, it like exploded the bearing everywhere.
Oh no.
I was like, all those little, really tiny little needle bearings all over the place. I was like, well, this sucks. So I had to steal one from my other car. So now my other car is not drivable. So I'm like,
Damn the
so,
bad luck.
but yeah, so I gotta get that fixed before next weekend.
I was gonna take 24th just to mess around with when we were down there, and I completely forgot about it. What I need to do is just leave mine in my backpack. It's like small enough, just leave it in there and call it good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna bring two of mine because one of them is still sitting in the box. I don't know why I won't pull it out of the box.
That's the Betty one, isn't it?
Oh, well, that was that one. I forgot about that one.
Oh, so you have another boxed one. That's what you're
Yep.
saying.
Yep. How could I forget about the Betty one? Holy crap.
Because it's more decoration than.
Well, I mean,
else, I guess.
I have taken it out for some poser shots, but, and so I could see what number I had, but, no, the other one was the Axial, obviously, C10.
Oh, I didn't know you had that one. I thought you just said the Jeep.
No, I have the Jeep. I have the one that Elio gave me that has the hard body Suburban body on it. And then I have the Betty and that C10. The C10, Nick Lapp picked up for me when, what's that place? Oh, I can't even remember. How horrible of me.
Oh, you're the local
J&M.
shop that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. When J&M went out of business, yeah, they're having a sale, and I think it was like $90 out the door.
That's a sweet deal.
So yeah, so he bought a couple of them, so he gave me one. So I'm like, it kind of has some sentimental value. It's the last little hobby related thing I have from them, so it's like, I might just leave it alone for now.
Not a bad idea. I've got. We had bought the JL, and then I've got a deadbolt and a C10 body for it too, but I haven't done anything with those yet. They're still like not painted or anything. Because I wanted to do some more 1/24th products. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But it would be nice to get those done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, no, that's about it. I just saw that was new. That when we were looking on the bodies at that J concept, the tucked one, that's kind of interesting.
God dang it, what is his name? It's not. Is it Spencer? He's on Instagram. He has a really cool looking one. I'm trying to think what his Instagram name is now. Let's see. It's not Iceworm. Sack the Ripper. He has an awesome looking version of that body that you're talking about that's all done up with like Milwaukee graphics.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that's that J-Con body.
Oh, okay. I thought that was for some reason. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I thought that was this whole time just because I was so used to the pinched look. I thought that was the cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, no, he has a cliffhanger too now, which is like some pretty wild paint on it and some cool colors and stuff. But yeah, no, I dig that Milwaukee body that he did. That thing looks really good.
Yep. My other hobby, collecting Milwaukee tools.
Really? I did not know that.
Well, I made the switch. I'll bore everybody. I made the switch from DeWalt to Milwaukee about 2 years ago.
Really?
So, yeah. So, my dad's always had DeWalt for battery tools, and like anybody else, you kind of like gravitate to whatever your parents are using or whatever. So, since that's what my dad used when we're at work, I just said, all right, and I kept getting the same stuff, the DeWalt stuff, and then as stuff has progressed, the one thing that always irritated me about DeWalt was the batteries. Nobody makes, well, they don't even make big extended life batteries, and there's not a lot of aftermarket batteries making quality larger batteries. Like I had one that was supposed to be like a 5 amp hour battery. It only lasted for like 2 hours, but it was a little bit better than what we had. I mean, the DeWalt batteries just don't last and they take forever to charge. So I said, you know what? It's time for a switch. So I just said, everyone's been raving about Milwaukee. Let's give it a shot. So replaced my drill drivers with the Milwaukee. Was pretty impressed. Was impressed with how long the battery lasted. So that's when I said, all right. So I started buying more and more and more. And next thing you know, like I got like 25 different cordless tools in my truck at all times for that are Milwaukee.
I'm a DeWalt guy.
Oh, if I would have known, I would have sent you all my stuff. I ended up giving it to Michelle's uncle because he's got a ranch. And what kind of rancher doesn't own tools?
A poser.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I said, come on, you need stuff here for when you got to repair stuff. But to his defense, he purchased the property like at that time 2 years prior, but still.
2 years? That's long enough for fences to fall apart.
That's what I said. So, well, I was the one fixing all that stuff. So, yeah. So anyways, so I have stuff like I have the drill driver. I have the little M12 compact drill. I have the hacksaw, the sawzall, the circular saw, the 18 or the 16 gauge framer. I have the 18 gauge finish nailer. I have the rotor hammer, grinder, a couple cordless flashlights / work lights. What else do I have out of them? I think that's it. My job site speaker. Oh, and the oscillating tool. How could I forget? I use that tool all the time.
Those are awesome. Like I use one of those a lot.
So yeah, it's like the nickname's Fine because the Fine tool was the first one to come out with it. But now a lot of companies make them. But everything I have is cordless. I mean, I finally started selling off my corded tools because I was tired of holding on to stuff that just I was never going to use again.
I have a few corded DeWalt stuff, like my jigsaw and my I don't know, would you call it a chop saw or a miter saw?
Circular saw.
Well, it's like a radial arm saw and a miter saw and a chop saw all in one.
Oh yeah, that's a bigger tool.
You know, I'm talking about like the big giant one. It's like a 13-inch blade or whatever. Like I've got one of those.
I got the same thing. It's a 12-inch.
Yeah, it's that and the jigsaw are my only two corded ones. Everything else, I think, it's one of those things that you just, once you have like a couple of cordless tools, you just end up buying the same brand over and over again because of the batteries fit in all of them. So
yeah, you're committed at that point.
Pretty much.
And that's pretty much, but see, I had to do the whole thing where I had to replace almost everything I had in DeWalt with Milwaukee. But the good news is the reason why I did it now is because I said, you know what, bite the bullet now, get over, and I can add some more, tools to my arsenal, stuff that I didn't have. Like the stuff I didn't actually expect to get was like my nail guns. Those are battery powered. And the only reason why I did that was because my finished, I guess you can call it like for whenever I do finished carpentry, which isn't too much anymore, I have a really small Senko. It's like weighs like 25 pounds, if that. Little air compressor can bring it all over the place. You're not going to be able to do a lot of finish nail gun shots or any kind of framing. Way too low. So you need to bring a bigger air compressor. The problem with that is, it's one more thing you got to carry in your truck and have more stuff, hoses and yada, 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 yada. The battery powered one, yeah, it's a little heavier than my pneumatic nailer, but slap a battery in there, load it with some nails, it's ready to go. Don't have to have an air compressor, don't have to drag cords around.
I think all my nail guns are pneumatic.
Yep. So I started selling off all that stuff. Oh, my whole hog. How did I forget that? I have my whole hog,
the
half inch
breaker,
the half inch impact, and a heat gun. Those are, I think, everything I have.
They make a cordless heat gun?
Yep.
That
badass. Would be dope for nitro engines.
Well, so I'll be honest, it's cool for certain stuff. Like, I got it mainly because, like, when we do under cabinet lights, we have to solder all of the ends and then put the heat shrink over it. And instead of trying to use your soldering iron, I just use the heat gun and shrinks it down. Now, if you're doing anything super radical, it's not really your tool. Because, that's like, for instance, we so every once in a while we have to get creative with some of the PVC pipe that we run for electrical, and sometimes it's just away from the building just enough to where you'd have to put like a block behind it so you can screw off to it, which doesn't look that appealing. So what we typically do is take the heat gun, heat up the PVC till it's pliable, put gloves on, bend it the way you want it, let the PVC recool, and then it created the offset bend to get it closer to the building so we can do what we have to do. I've done it with my cordless heat gun, but it takes twice as long just because it doesn't have the same kind of heat intensity as a corded.
Oh, gotcha.
But for, like I said, heat shrink, let's say, or like in my case, I've had a couple jobs where you run in and you're doing something or you have to move something for someone and there's like a nail hole behind or something in the sheetrock and you want to patch it real quick. You can slap spackle in there, take the heat gun in about 30 seconds. It's pretty dry.
That's a good idea.
I have
to look at that too, because like I have a corded heat gun, but like I get stuck putting wraps on for people like away from work a lot, and having one that's battery powered would be pretty rad, actually.
Feeling pretty called out, not gonna lie.
No, like I think the last person that I had to do that for was like Schultz or somebody, I believe it was, that I had to put his wrap on like at the event, but I think that would be a really good thing for me to check out. That way I don't have to like bust out the generator just to put a wrap on.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad either. I think I paid it was less than $100.
Oh, that's not bad.
That is good.
I didn't even know it
was such an animal at first.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. When you buy any of I don't know if DeWalt does it, but when you buy any of the Milwaukee stuff, there's a little pamphlet in there. And when you open it up, it shows I want to say 90% of the tools they sell.
Huh.
So there's just tools galore.
I'm going to have to check that
So
out.
They have so much stuff. I mean, they even have, which I was telling my boss the other day, which I may or may not get, they actually have a battery-powered soldering iron.
What?
Yep. And you can bend it into different positions. So it's got a button you push and then it'll lock ratcheting into different, angles. So you can turn it into a right angle, or you can keep it long like a wand. Yeah.
That's crazy. I've seen the ones that work on, they plug into your battery charger's power supply, for RC stuff, but
yeah,
I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, Milwaukee makes a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. So it's pretty cool. That's why, like I said, I made the switch, and now I go, oh, I could use this tool and whatnot. And then it's funny that you made the comment about the wrist breaker when I said the whole hog. That is true with their corded version. With their battery powered, not a chance.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I have
because
a
it's battery.
healthy respect for those things. Like, I want to say the one we had at the car stereo shop I worked at was a Milwaukee.
Yep. Those Milwaukee is
And,
probably corded. And if you have that thing on low and it snagged anything, that thing will spin you around
oh,
like nothing.
dude. Yeah. Like, they're, you have it, like, catch you off guard a couple times. And, like I said, you got a
Oh,
pretty healthy respect for those things.
yeah, I've got a couple. So, like, the first time I ever used a whole hog, like, this is like, I'm talking like, I want to say like 8, 9 years ago. So, I was helping a buddy out way back before I even got into electrical work. I was helping him run wires at a house, and he's like, and I pulled out my little drill driver combo, and I was trying to drill holes with my paddle bit with that, and he goes, no, 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 no. He goes, use my whole hog, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he sets it up for me, and I go, all right. I'm standing on a ladder, and I got the whole hog like right next to my shoulder, and I'm just like pushing straight up, and all of a sudden he comes walking around the corner, and he goes, Adam, let go of the trigger and don't let go of that whole hog. And I'm like, all right. And I stop, and he goes, dude, he goes, have you ever used a whole hog before? And I was like, no. And he goes, if that thing would have caught and spun all the way around, dude, that could have knocked you out and thrown you off the ladder. And I'm like, what? Like, I had no clue. Like, he's like, that thing's got no clutch. So when it grabs, it'll just spin you. And I was like, huh. And I had like no clue. Right. So I'm like, all right. So I would try to be more careful. And then I think like maybe like probably the first house I started wiring with my current boss, like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, I learned quickly to always preamp to where that handle is going to go, because I've twice pinched my hand between a stud and that handle drilling a hole. And it's not fun.
No, they're scary, dude. Like, I've used them on like car doors, when you're putting like door speakers in something, like let's say, you're trying to put like 6.5s or something in a older like Toyota pickup or something, for example. So you bust out the whole hog, and dude, I've had those things catch and like cross your arms faster than you could even blink, and like wrench your elbows super hard because you haven't like, it happens so fast that you can't even let go. Like they're genuinely kind of a scary tool, honestly.
Oh, they are. And yeah, no, they're very, very
whole
like,
hog. Dude, I haven't even thought about that in such a long time. Like, I completely forgot those even existed.
So the cool thing is the battery powered one actually has a clutch, I'm sorry, kind of to save the motor so you don't burn it up. So if it ever gets kind of like bogged down, it'll just like, that's it. It doesn't spin. It goes, and that's it. You're just like, all right, which gets a little annoying because it's like, there's times where like you're drilling through like 4 or 5, 2x4s. Cause like, let's say like, for instance, I've been on job sites where you got like 2 stacked together because they didn't have a 4x4. Then they needed a 4x4 less than a foot away because there's a footing there that needs an anchor, and you're just like, all right, and you're trying to hit it all with one shot, and you get out the long drill bit and you're making it through, and then all of a sudden, because all the sawdust is building up in there, it starts like slowing down, and you're like, oh, come on, and then all of a sudden it gets stuck, and you're just like, and then I got to get out the wrenches, and I got to start like trying to manually undo it. It's a pain in the ass, but typically it's just a breeze because, and I know this is like completely off topic, but it's like there's no cords binding you to anything now. So it's like we have to go okay, you need to go cut this 2x4 out of the way. You can get your cordless Sawzall. Boom. Oh, I need to cut a piece of block so I can put it in there without whatever. Now I don't have to get a cord and all set up. Pull out my cordless skill saw, cut it off, take my cordless nailer, boom, boom, done. Way faster than having to drag out all this extra stuff. So, I mean, I think everything's got its place. And for me, cordless tools is where it's at.
Yeah, that would be a lot more efficient doing it that way.
Alrighty.
For sure. I just found a bunch of cordless heat guns on Amazon while we were talking. I'm going to have to do some more shopping.
Dude, we're so spoiled with 1 day or 2 day delivery up in Seattle area.
Oh, I
I'm down
know, it's
on
so
vacation in
quick.
California right now, and I can get something in like 4 days. I'm
Oh,
like, what?
really?
I could get it in like 2 hours in Lake Stevens.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how quick it is up here. It's nice being that close to them.
Yeah, it sucks down here. I want to go back where my Amazon is.
Did you take like any cars with you down there at all? Like, did you take a crawler or anything?
Not this time. I normally take one of my buggies and a crawler, but this time I decided it wasn't worth the work. It's a lot of work to check and not check and get
Oh, with like
searched and stuff.
batteries and stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pain. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fun once you get there.
I have yet to like travel, like fly anywhere with RC stuff, so I'll get to fight the battle eventually.
Really, all you gotta do is check your screwdrivers, or they'll confiscate them because they're shanks, and then
Oh
carry on
god.
everything else.
Even the batteries?
Yes, you must carry on your batteries, or they'll search your checked bag. I
Uh,
had a checked bag searched because I forgot a receiver battery.
oh, gotcha. Interesting.
Uh,
So I missed it. Where are you in California?
Central Coast. I'm in San Luis Obispo.
Okay, so you're like 2 hours south of me.
Yeah, I lived here for like 13 years of my life. We moved up to Washington 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have you been to Pismo?
Oh yeah. That's like, pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I was curious because I mean there are people like, I mean, I've talked to some people like being that Hollister Hills is like an hour ish away from me, and we're like, yeah, let's go wheeling at Hollister. They're like, where's that? And you're like, are you serious?
Then there used to be a moto track in Hollister.
There still is.
Oh, is there? Nice.
The more
So
you know, Jay.
The more you know. Ding ding. I'm all zoned out on tools now.
I'm just sitting here
Down. Put the phone
cruising
down.
Facebook while you're on your tangent about tools. I'm
Well,
going to sit here quietly and let them work through it.
It's about time to wrap it up, anyways. We're at hour and
Yeah.
15 or so.
Plus my last final rant of nothing that had to do with RC, except for the fact.
Still educational though.
But actually, I could say though, I could see the cordless soldering iron and heat gun becoming a tool that you would use in RC.
Well, I can almost guarantee I'll end up getting the heat gun just because like that'd be so nice if any edges start to peel on something, or if I got like something that's lifted when we're out doing video or something like that. It'd be nice to be able to like fix it right there and then. So I think that's something that we need to invest in.
I'm actually looking right now if the Walt has one. Oh, they do.
I don't know if it uses the same batteries. Like I feel like my batteries.
It does.
Mine are all 18 volts, so they're probably pretty old.
You don't have the 20-volt system? What is wrong with you? The 18
Wow, you're
volt
living in the Stone Age. That's like right next to the old like blue Ryobi stuff.
Like the sewing machines that are foot operated.
Exactly.
You don't even
dude.
plug them in. I just learned about electric sewing.
You're gonna go like turn some butter while you're at it.
Make my own ice cream.
For real though.
Intern's calling you out.
Churn some butter. I've never heard like I don't even know the last time I've heard someone say churn butter.
I've heard.
I'm surprised a kid your age even knows about churning butter. To be honest,
I watched some good Weird Al in my youngin' days.
Weird Al.
You watched Weird Al. That's like
Amish Paradise.
Yeah,
is that the song? Okay.
Exactly.
Boy, that sucks that I had that on memory, like on that quick.
That's
instantly.
bad.
Oh yeah, Amish Paradise. Blah 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 blah. Track 4.
Yeah, you know what? You got some things to reconsider in your life.
Dude,
I'll just leave you with that.
I saw Weird Al in concert at the Deschutes County Fair many years ago.
What year was that?
Oh gosh, dude. Probably close to around like 97, 98, 99, somewhere in there.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. I've got a rock stuck in my motor on the
I've got who knows what's
Ecto.
stuck in my gatekeeper, but we're gonna let her develop.
I'd really like to get that out. That would be a good thing to remove from the motor. It's right by the fan.
Dude, it's just added weight. You're
Well,
good.
I'm worried about it like rubbing on stuff.
You could put a brass rock in there.
I could.
Right? You don't need
Something a
brass
little
when you
more
put
something a little
natural
more
weight.
conductive. This is an RTR motor that you can't take apart either.
Get a cup of water and run it in the water.
I don't think that's gonna get the rock out. I can't get it out with a pick, so I think I'm.
Well, it'll burn it up or it'll get the rock out.
I
You'll
think
learn
I'm
which one.
hosed. Or I just won't care and just keep running the rock motor.
Send her,
There
bud.
you go.
Yep.
Would that make it a rock 412?
No, this is a RTR Reedy motor, so I don't know what that would make it. Interesting. All right. Well, anyhow, we should probably get going.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, gang. Elliot, do you want to do something like super like formal outro for us?
You know what? You just do you.
I didn't say me. I said you.
Well, I'm saying you.
You gotta
I
start
pulled the
pulling
reverse card,
You gotta
and you gotta
start
play it.
pulling your weight here, son.
My bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time since Elliot doesn't want to do it. I'll just say it and get it over with.
I thought those were his words. You do you, boo boo.
Yeah, I did my formal outro, and now you're just like gonna pretend like I didn't.
All right. Well, that'll work. We'll end it there then. Fine.
All right. I'm glad.
All right. There.